So hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So for today's video we have another standard deck tech with Dominaria United, wherein we are featuring this list by iTrex. This was taken from the MTG Goldfish. I think this was from a tournament result. Maybe I forgot what that name of the event, but nevertheless they call it the Bant Festival deck. And for today we're going to discuss what will be the deck opponents, the deck's main strategy. And I know that you faced this before back when you're playing in ramp or maybe in your local tournament in the standard format. So let us check the background for the list. We have basically 0 creatures. As you can see here, it's just supposed with just having the enchantments, the lands, the planeswalkers, and of course the sorcery is the source of these tokens. We're going to tackle one by one. So maybe we can start with the sorcery. Check out Join the Dance. So this is an Celestia casting cost 1 green 1 white mana for 2 with flashback of 5, in which you're just going to play 2 1 white human creature tokens. That's basic, very basic for the token deck. So we have 4 copies of this, but it's also added with this another white sorcery spell. This is Sunset Regularly. So it has these 2 conditions. If an opponent has more life than you gain 4 life. If an opponent controls more creatures than you will create 2 1 white human creature tokens. This basically is the deck's main setup, that's just to allow your opponents to create or cast their creatures first and then cast this one to create 2 1 white human creature tokens. And also a bonus is that if an opponent has more cards than you draw a card. So basically, in a way, this can be a good card drawer, a good source for life gain, and also the basic is the token setup. So with these 4 copies of each, basically you can just have this source release as your creature source in their starting setup, but at the same time you can basically curve with one of these enchantments, or just basically having all of these core artifacts that we have here on the left side. So maybe we can start also discussing this. We'll have Courier's Briefcase. This is a 2-class artifact treasure, wherein when it enters the battlefield, you will create a 1 green and white citizen creature token. And at the same time, you can sacrifice it to add 1 mana mini color or maybe use it as a ramp. But the bonus also is that if you're able to have this 4 mana, I mean the 5 mana of each color of the magic, you can pay those 5 to sacrifice this Briefcase and draw 3 cards. So this is also another option wherein you can just have a good card draw in the late game, and also at the same time early on, just to sacrifice it to ramp or fix your mana in the setup. So along with it, we have another rare, mythic rare from Streets of New Capenna. This is the Bootlegger Stash. By experience, this is the first time that we will see this one as being played in a standard deck, where in the accessibility, it's 6 to cast artifact, but its bonus is that lands you control has this effect that you can create treasure token by simply tapping them. So basically, free bonus of adding lands that have this treasure token, in which later on you can use as your mana fix or mana ramp or whatever the purpose might be for artifacts. So 1 copy of this, and you can check back on the list again. We have 2 copies of Halo Fountain. This is another mythic rare from the Capenna set. It's a 3 to cast, pay 1 tap. You can tap untap and tap creature control. You can create 1 green and white citizen creature token. Pay 2 white tap 2 untap creatures control. That's quite lively for that. Draw a card, and maybe you can pay 5 white tap and tap 15 tap creatures to control. You win the game. So in the setup, you can just either go with the low gate game and just pour out this ability to win the game from this effect. So 2 copies of this, making sure that you can just draw it from the late game and win from there, maybe for the setup. Now let's go to the enchantments. As the name suggests of the deck, we have Bant Ascendancy. You can check this one as at the beginner end step, put a counter, a counter in each creature you control, and a little counter in each planeswalker you control. So having free creature tokens and generating those with added counters to make them more available and bigger to attack, or just maybe to defend, or just trade off with the other big creatures that your opponents may have. So having 4 of this copy, making sure that you can just draw it up, play it on your 3rd turn, or you can ramp it later on, depending on how you would play out these matchups after you cover out with your creature tokens or your planeswalkers. So 4 copies of this. In effect, we also have hallowed fountain. I think this is the way that you can have your enchantment creatures you control flying in vigilance, that whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you will create a free white spirit cleric creature token within the toughness and power is equal to the number of spirits you control. So DB is just a good spirit token source whenever you cast enchantment spell, but I think this is just a bonus as long as you control 7 or more enchantments that will have those creatures flying in vigilance. So 2 copies of this in the deck. We also have the mythic rare from Kamigawa Dynasty. This is Jugan Defense Temple. So this is a 3-cast saga wherein it will also create a token. So this is another source for your token. This is one is a 1/1 green human monk creature token with this ability of just to add 1 mana, 1 green mana. And then you can put some counter to each of the 2 target creature you control. I mean, just any target creatures up to your second saga lore counter, and after the end, you can exile this to return it to the battlefield flipped. So the flip card will be Remnant the Rising Star. So this 2/2 flying enchantment creature dragon, but with this effects that whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. So if you do, you will put X % counters on that creature. So it's a bonus pump, and as long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, this one gets +5 and has trample. So this basically have various ways to get ahead of your opponents by just having this bonus +1 counters on your creatures that enters the battlefield, just at the cost of any mana, however you pay for that one. So 2 copies of that. We also have Legends of the Kirin. We're just going to go fast on this. So it is a military cards, get a first creature token. So this is another good creature token source. You put a counter on target creature control. So this is like a smaller version of the Chugan. And then have this one exiled as a flip card with Kirin, Touch, Orochi. So this is effects. You can exile a creature card from graveyard, create a Horror Spirit creature token, or exile a target non-creature card from graveyard. You put a counter on target creature control. So there's ways to gain counters on this or produce another spirit token for this effect on whenever Kirin, Touch, Orochi attacks. So 2 copies in this, the main deck. So basically you can see here that there are a lot of variants of how you would create your tokens on the setup. At the same time, the main token generator here is spelling announcement, wherein we'll just really rely on having +1 white human creature tokens or draw 2 cards in the process if you attack with 2 or more creatures. And lastly, you have this as your anthem with the wedding festivity. So 4 copies of that to make sure that you can just curve it out with the Join the Dust, for example, and then wedding announcement on your third turn. Now we look at the Planeswalker choice. So this is basically the last part. But builders, we have to check first exotic pets. So this is 3-cast blue-white head color, any color instant. You will create 2/2 blue fish creature tokens with these creatures can be black. So another good source of attack, wherein which gets more deadly when if you put the Bant Ascendancy effects on these. So those fish tokens could also have this kind of counters among them. Then put a counter of those kinds either of those tokens. So which means that either you put on the one of those creatures that already have this kind of counter, whether it is a vigilance counter or let's say a flying counter or the sound counter, you can just add another one of those effects. So given of this bonus, it can also produce any type of pump effect. For example, if you have a one creature with a percentage counter with casting exotic pets before you declare blockers, can get those that said creature another +1 bonus on its power and toughness. So that's basically can be a good combat tricks in this process of the setup. But surely you can see that this deck has various effects and abilities or spells that can use to generate card advantage or just go ahead and make quick work on that opponent's life total. So last but not the least, we have the Planeswalker lineup with Rails suspended 1 copy. So also put counter, and you can look minus the ability to look at the top 7 or maybe pull out Ascendancy out of your top cards of your library. We also have the Wandering Emperor, utility creatures, another token source, and also adding +++ counters or creatures, so 3 copies of that. And lastly, 2 copies of Brain and 7. So this is really a good three folk creature token producer, when it relies on how many your lands that you control over its power and toughness. But the good thing is that you have this ability that you can also put your land cards you will in your hand and the rest in your graveyard with its +1. But usually you can just cast it out -3 and then put a huge 3 folk creature token to just block off opponent's attacks. So 2 copies of that. So the total components is 6. For sorcery, we have 8, and enchantments and artifacts, basically combined total is 19. So we lastly check on the, of course, the lands. So good mana fix is Paradise Quarters because it is of the band colors. Some Yabime Coast, Overgrown Farmland for the green-white, Deserted Beach and Drakkar Waste, of course, for the blue-whites, and lastly some utility cards for the Ganjo. And that's only the only one. We also added the basic forest and the plains of this. So lastly, we check on the card distribution. We have 18 for green, we have blue for 16, and lastly white with 20. So mostly most of the combos will green and white with blue in the third color. So mana curve is 3. Basically, you can just curve out well with the 12 waste for 2 mana cost, 15 for 3 mana, and so on, with a lesser value as you go high in your mana cost. So let's see. These are the tokens. Basically, you have see here that there are a lot of tokens are even included on how many you could produce this in the actual. The good thing, if you want to try this in the MTG Arena, you can just have those tokens for free, and just don't worry to have any actual card tokens that you would need if you like to play this in your local game store. So I think that's about it for this. This is a good record and maybe interesting version of the Bant Festival deck to try and work out with how you would go ahead with the zero creature token, just purely token generator deck in standard. So if you like this video, I suggest you check out the link or more of this in my playlist for previous standard deck list, deck tags, and for Dominaria standard, and of course other Magic the Gathering info, and for the upcoming Brothers War that maybe we'll have to discussion on this for the previews, maybe some deck text for standard and other related Magic the Gathering stuff. So that's about it. Thank you for checking this video, and see you on my next upload.